Hey guys, Adam from Alright Productions here, and today I'm going to be showing you my Blu-ray collection as of January 2020. So first off, we'll be starting with box sets and criterions, starting with the Alfred Hitchcock collection, which includes Rear Window, Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, and The Birds. Hitchcock is one of my favorite directors. Everyone says Psycho is his best movie, but personally I prefer Rear Window, although Psycho is a very good movie. Next we have Aliens, directed by James Cameron. Very good movie. The Back to the Future trilogy, which is probably, I won't say my favorite trilogy of all time, but it's definitely up there. Then we have Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a digibook, which means that inside of the Blu-ray case there is a small book with like pictures from the film and things about the band, which is very cool. I thought Bohemian Rhapsody did a good job at portraying Freddie Mercury, not so much Queen as a whole. The Godfather trilogy, I've seen parts 1 and 2. Have not seen part 3. I don't know if I'm going to watch it. Heard it was kind of unnecessary, but I don't know. Next we have one of my few 4Ks that I have. This is Hidden Figures. I don't have a 4K TV or a 4K player, so I mainly use this for the Blu-ray and digital copy. Then we have one of my favorite Blu-ray sets that I own, the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. The Lord of the Rings probably is my favorite trilogy of all time in terms of consistency. I really like Star Wars, but Return of the Jedi, Next up we have Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made, which is a very cool documentary. It follows these guys. They're grown up now, but back in the 80s when Raiders of the Lost Ark first came out, they remade the entire movie shot for shot by themselves, and it was very cool. And the documentary is about them completing the movie, doing the one final scene that they were never able to do, which is the scene with the plane. Next we have Schindler's List, a very good World War II movie, kind of depressing, but true, I guess. The Star Trek Motion Picture Trilogy, which includes Star Trek 2, 3, and 4. Wrath of Khan is my favorite Star Trek movie, which is Star Trek 2. I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan, so I'm not really sure about the other ones. I have seen them though, but like I said, not the biggest Star Trek fan. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I like most of this movie. The Casino Planet stuff, like pretty much everyone says, wasn't that great, but other than that I enjoyed it. Next we have the X-Men Beginnings trilogy, which includes X-Men First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. I've tried to watch Apocalypse 2 or 3 times, I just can't make it through it. But Days of Future Past and First Class both are probably my favorite X-Men movies besides Logan. Starting off with Criterions, we have The Beatles, A Hard Day's Night. I've yet to watch this movie, but I've heard nothing but good things. Then we have Moonrise Kingdom, directed by Wes Anderson, which is the first Wes Anderson movie that I ever saw. Then we have Night of the Living Dead, The Princess Bride, Seven Samurai, 12 Angry Men, The Breakfast Club, Blowout, Rafifi, which is a French heist movie. And then my only, Arrow video is Matinee. Then moving on to Steelbooks before we go on to slipcovers and standard Blu-rays. Army of Darkness, The Blues Brothers, one of my favorite comedies, The Bridge on the River Kwai, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, The Indiana Jones The Complete Adventures, Saving Private Ryan, lots of Spielberg in a row, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is not Spielberg, Edgar Wright, They Live. And then last but not least, Top Gun with Tom Cruise. Looking forward to the sequel coming out soon. Hopefully it's good. So now we'll be starting off with my Blu-rays with slip cases or slip covers. Starting off with Avengers Infinity War, which is another 4K, but like I said before, don't have a 4K TV or player. Then we have Avengers Endgame, Black Panther, Blade Runner 2049, which is a very good movie. I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. But first, check out the original Blade Runner. Then we have an animated movie, Batman the Dark Knight Returns. One of my favorite comics, and that was a very good animated adaptation of that comic. Coco, probably my favorite Pixar movie in the last 7 or 8 years probably. Then we have The Dark Knight Rises with a lenticular slipcover, which is very cool. Then we have Die Hard, which is a Christmas movie. 8th Grade, directed by Bo Burnham. I was very excited for this movie, and I was surprised. It was very, very good. Better than I expected. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Not as good as I expected. Then we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I don't have Volume 1 on Blu-ray, I have it on DVD. Then we have Halloween from 2018. I thought it was alright. I've only seen the original Halloween and then the new one, but I liked what they did with it. Then we have How to Train Your Dragon, which I did not watch when they were coming out, which I probably should have, but I watched them last year when the third and probably final movie came out, and they were very good. So I got the first How to Train Your Dragon, and then I got the second How to Train Your Dragon. Now we have another Pixar movie, The Incredibles 2, which The Incredibles is my favorite Pixar movie, and I was so excited for this, and when it came out, it's just disappointing. It wasn't a bad movie. I just didn't like it. I did like this movie when it came out, and I probably like it even more now. Kong Skull Island. It's not the best movie, but it's definitely a lot of fun. Then we have the Lego Movie, which nobody expected was going to be very good, but I was a huge Lego fan, and I still am. But when that came out, I would make like stop motion with Lego minifigures, and so I was super excited for that movie. Then we have Logan, probably my second or third favorite X-Men movie. This one, First Class, and Days of Future Past are kind of tied. Then we have Misery, which is a very, very good, it's Stephen King, so it's kind of horror, but I would consider it more of a thriller movie. It has James Caan and Kathy Bates in it. Then we have Mission Impossible Fallout, my second favorite Mission Impossible. My first favorite Mission Impossible is number 4, Ghost Protocol. Then we have Prometheus, which I have not seen. I don't know if I will watch it. I got that from a friend. He moved away, and I never returned it. So, then we have The Post, A Quiet Place, which the trailer for the second one just came out, and it looks alright. I really like this one, the first one. I just hope they don't mess it up. Then we have Ready Player One. I was really looking forward to this. I read the book. I loved the book. Steven Spielberg was directing. Alan Silvestri was doing the score. And it just kind of fell apart for me anyway. Then we have Rogue One, probably my favorite movie to come out of Disney Star Wars. Then we have Star Wars The Force Awakens. And Solo, probably my least favorite movie to come out of Disney Star Wars. Then we have Spider-Man Homecoming. I have yet to get Far From Home. I need to do that. But what I do have is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I won't say it's my favorite animated movie of all time. That's probably Incredibles, but it's definitely top 5. Then we have Shazam, the only superhero movie that my entire family likes, which is kind of funny. Then this isn't a movie, this is a miniseries. It's The Stand based on the book by Stephen King. It was okay. I mean, for the time that it came out, it was very well done. But nowadays it's pretty dated, and the episodes kind of get worse as they go on. But I wouldn't say it's bad. Then we have this, the 4K version of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I didn't find out until after I bought this at how horrible of a 4K transfer it's said to be. Like I said, I haven't watched the 4K version. And then the Blu-rays, James Cameron's kind of turning Terminator 2 into the Star Wars Special Editions. So I don't know if I'll keep that for forever or not. Another Marvel movie, Thor Ragnarok, directed by one of my favorite directors in recent years, Taika Waititi. Then we have Wonder, which is a very good book. I read it when I was younger, and then I liked the movie. And then last but not least, we have Wonder Woman, which is probably, I don't know if it's my favorite DCEU movie, but it's definitely better than Batman v Superman. So those are all my Blu-rays with slipcovers, and now we'll move on to just the standard Blu-rays and standard cases. So starting off with my just standard Blu-rays with no slipcover or special edition or anything, we have 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was one of the first movies that I ever went into without ever watching a trailer, knowing anything what it was about, and it definitely paid off. It's a very good movie. John Goodman was excellent, as well as the other 2 actors in that movie. Then we have 42, the Jackie Robinson story. I have not watched this movie, but I got it for sale on Black Friday one year. Then we have Alien, the original from 1979. Will Ferrell and Anchorman, one of my favorite comedies of past, when did it come out? 2004, so 20 years. The A-Team, the new version with Liam Neeson and Bradley Cooper, it was okay. Then we have another copy of The Breakfast Club, my personal favorite John Hughes movie. Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies, which is kind of slow, but it was good. Then we have Batman Begins. I haven't watched this movie either. It's called Be Kind, Rewind, which has Jack Black in it, and he runs a video store, and all of the videotapes get wiped, and they have to recreate all of the movies on their own. And I don't know, it's kind of a weird premise, but hopefully it's good. Then we have Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This one was alright. I know I'm probably going to get hate for that. It's a classic and everything, but I just personally didn't like it. Then we have my favorite Marvel movie, Captain America the Winter Soldier. The fight scenes, especially the one on the boat at the beginning and in the elevator, those are some of the best superhero fight scenes in recent history. Then we have Cool Hand Luke with Paul Newman, which I do like a lot, unlike the Butch Cassidy with Paul Newman in it. Then we have Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Christine, directed by John Carpenter. Probably in my top 2 or 3 John Carpenter movies. Creed, which was kind of a surprise for me. I didn't expect it to be very good, and then when I went to see it, it blew me away initially. I thought it was amazing, but now, I mean, it's a very good movie, but I don't think it's anything game-changing necessarily. Then we have Dunkirk. I just recently saw 1917, which I liked more than Dunkirk, but Dunkirk nonetheless is a very good World War II movie. 1917 is World War I. Then we have The Dark Knight, the best Batman movie, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions. Then we have Steven Spielberg's first movie, Duel. It's about, it's a very simple premise. It kind of sounds boring, but it's like really intense at times. It's this guy, and he's just in a car, and like in the desert, driving down the road, and this big like 18-wheeler truck that's like old and rusty, that like starts riding his tail, and eventually it tries to like run him off the road and things. It's very interesting and very good for a first movie. Then we have Evil Dead 2. I haven't seen the original Evil Dead, but I've been told that you don't really need to. Then we have Forrest Gump, the movie that I've probably seen the most times, although it's not one of my like top 5 favorite movies or anything. Then we have Fargo. I've only watched this once, but from the one time that I did watch it, it was very, very good. I like a lot of the Coen Brothers stuff, like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and No Country for Old Men. Then we have Fantastic Mr. Fox, another Wes Anderson movie. Field of Dreams, which was one of the first Blu-rays I ever bought. The Greatest Showman. The rest of my family likes this movie. Personally, I thought it was okay. Hugh Jackman did a good job in it, but the songs were kind of... they didn't progress the plot, and that's what bothered me. Then we have The Green Mile, which I have not watched. I have seen Shawshank Redemption, though. I need to watch Green Mile. Then we have The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Clint Eastwood. I just picked up this one recently, The Great Escape with Steve McQueen. I had this on DVD for the longest time, but the picture was like super small and I wasn't really sure why. I could never get it fixed, so finally I just found it one day on sale in a Blu-ray, so that's when I got it. Then I have a triple feature of Goonies, Gremlins, and Gremlins 2, some of my favorite 80s movies. Gladiator, which I have not seen. Need to watch this one as well. The original Halloween, which is one of the only slasher movies I've seen. I don't really care for many slasher movies, and I guess Halloween is considered a slasher. I mean, the other sequels are, but the first one is more suspense than anything. Then we have my favorite Pixar movie, The Incredibles. The 1990 TV miniseries of It with Tim Curry. Independence Day, the original. Then we have another Wes Anderson, Isle of Dogs, his newest movie as of right now. The Imitation Game, which I also have yet to see. There's a lot of movies that I haven't watched, which probably is not a good thing, but I will get to them eventually. But we have my favorite movie of all time, Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg. I can't really say anything else about this movie that hasn't been said, but in my mind this is one of the only perfect movies. Then we have another Steven Spielberg, Jurassic Park. If you can't tell, Steven Spielberg is my favorite director. I probably have the most of his movies. I'm missing a couple. But next up we have Lawrence of Arabia. I was able to go watch this on the big screen a few months ago, and that was the first time I had seen it all the way through. And other than the day for night stuff, which was is kind of laughably bad, but other than that, like everyone says, it's a masterpiece. But the day for night stuff was pretty funny. Then we have my favorite musical, Little Shop of Horrors. I've seen this live either 3 or 4 times. Very good both times. This is the director's cut, so it has an alternate ending, which personally I prefer. I won't spoil it in case you haven't seen the movie. Then we have the theatrical editions of Lord of the Rings. I showed you the extended editions earlier. And then another copy of Lord of the Rings, but this is just the first movie, The Fellowship of the Ring. Next up is Looper, directed by Rian Johnson. Recently saw Knives Out. That was a very good movie. Another Spielberg, Lincoln. I've seen this twice, I believe, and I've liked it. I liked it more the second time that I watched it. So if I watch again, maybe I'll like it some more. Then we have the new version of The Magnificent Seven, which definitely is not a good movie, but it's a fun movie. Kind of like National Treasure, which we'll get to in a second. Then we have The Matrix 1, 2, and 3. I've only watched the first one. I refuse to watch the other two because I don't want the memory of the first one ruined. Then we have The Martian with Matt Damon. And then here's what I was talking about, National Treasure 1 and National Treasure 2, where they're not great movies, but they're definitely fun. Then we have, this is called Overboard. I have not watched this, but the rest of my family really likes it. It has Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn in it. Then we have the new version of Planet of the Apes, The Rise of the Planet of the Apes with Andy Serkis. And then we have War for the Planet of the Apes, which is the third movie in the new Planet of the Apes movies. I don't have the second one, which is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. A lot of Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes. Can't talk. Robots. Don't ask. Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. One of my favorite, I guess this qualifies as animation, but one of my favorite Robert Zemeckis movies for sure. Then we have Rain Man, which I just watched for the first time recently. That was a very, very good movie. Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise both give excellent performances. Then we have Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze, so the original from the 80s. This was the first PG-13 movie to be released. That's a fun fact. Then we have a double feature of Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile. I've seen Romancing the Stone. I have not seen Jewel of the Nile. They're kind of a knockoff / parody of Indiana Jones. Then we have Star Trek, the 2009 edition with Chris Pine. And we have another copy of Star Trek 2009, as well as Star Trek Into Darkness and Star Trek Beyond. So all three of the new movies. Then we have Shawshank Redemption, one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. Spaceballs, my favorite Mel Brooks movie. Stand By Me, another one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. It might be my number one favorite. I don't know. It changes around. Then SpongeBob SquarePants, the movie from 2004, so the original. I have to keep saying like the original and from this year because there's so many remakes and stuff now. It's crazy. And then this movie I've never heard of. I forget who got this for me for Christmas one year. It's called Sam Whiskey. It has Burt Reynolds in it from Smokey and the Bandit. Among other things. Then we have my favorite Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 2, with Dr. Octopus. And then we have Lego Star Wars, The Padawan Menace. I used to watch this all the time when it first came out. I'm sure it's still pretty funny, but I haven't watched it in years. Then we have 1010, yet another Steven Spielberg movie. Almost said Stephen King. Still waiting on that sequel, though. I really like the first 1010. Now we're down to our last few. We have John Carpenter's The Thing, which, in my opinion, other than Little Shop of Horrors, has some of the best practical effects ever put to film. Then we have the first Terminator from 1984. This bothers me because it has a red case and every single other Blu-ray has the blue case, so it kind of like throws off the uniformity of everything. This is a guilty pleasure, Venom. Whenever I want to laugh, I put that movie in. The original National Lampoon's Vacation, also when I want to laugh, I put that movie in. We Bought a Zoo with Matt Damon. Never watched it, had it for years. Then we have Watchmen, Tales from the Black Freighter, which is like a motion comic of the Black Freighter storyline in the original Watchmen comic. I don't have the motion comic of the original Watchmen comic because when I went to buy that, I couldn't find the disc, so I just have Black Freighter. Then we have It's a Wonderful Life, which I've seen a couple times, but not a lot in recent years, so I'll have to go back and watch that. And then the final movie is X-Men First Class, which I showed you in the Beginnings Trilogy box set. But that's everything. Those are all of my Blu-rays. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Maybe I'll do a DVD collection or a VHS collection. I have a lot of those as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later. Bye.